So hey guys, so thank you so much for checking out my channel. And on this video I thought I would create a video on breastfeeding and my top 10 tips for trying to ensure successful breastfeeding, right? And I thought this just made sense to do this video now because I do have now a 1-month-old. I am breastfeeding him, and I'm also breastfeeding my 1-year-old at the same time. So I thought, let's do this since it's all fresh in my head right now, right? Okay, so let's get into it. The first tip is make sure that if possible, after you have your baby, put your baby to breast as soon as possible. Make sure that, doctors and your midwife, nurses, the team is aware if you're having a baby in a hospital or in a birthplace, which typically birthplaces are breastfeeding friendly. So they typically try to do this anyways, but just in case, discuss this with your doctor before having your baby, that it's really important for you to try to make sure that within the first hour of having your baby that you try to get the baby to latch, or as soon as possible, right? So yeah, have a discussion with your doctor, because it is has been known that the sooner baby latches after delivery, the more likely you are to successfully breastfeed down the road. Okay, so tip number 2 is basically breastfeed your baby on demand. So you want to make sure that you don't try to follow a clock, right? Or a time frame, or it's every 2 hours or whatnot. You want to, every time your baby is hungry, put your baby to breast, okay? And sometimes in the beginning, that could be every 30 minutes. Your baby might show signs of hunger, and you might think, I just took him off the breast, and so you might think, I just took him off the breast, right? And so why is he hungry? That's just normal. That's breastfeeding for you, right? You just, whenever baby's showing signs, don't even look at the time, don't look at the clock, and just put your baby to breast, because the basics with breastfeeding is the supply and demand type of situation. So the more your baby is removing milk from your breast, the more milk your body will produce. The less milk your baby removes from your breast, the less your body will produce. So always keep that in mind, okay? So supply and demand situation, and the more baby's on, the more milk you'll make. So think about that. When it gets tough and you feel overwhelmed or feel like you just put him on, he or she on their breast, just think about your supply, and it won't be that, that bad, right? To constantly have baby on the breast. Tip number 3 is stay hydrated. It's super important to make sure that you are hydrated. Make sure that you have some water nearby, a bottle, a glass of water nearby at all times. You will tend to get thirsty after breastfeeding, so that kind of you typically will drink, but sometimes we do need to remind ourselves that we have to stay hydrated, and it's really important to constantly drink fluids. So I'm always having, a filled glass of water nearby. That way it's easier to make sure that I stay hydrated. Because if you're hydrated, then your body has what it needs to produce the breast milk. Your breast milk is made of water as well, so you need water to make breast milk, right? So staying hydrated. Tip number 4 is eat enough calories. So it takes a lot of calories, a lot of energy for your body to produce this milk, this breast milk for your baby. So making sure that you're eating enough calories in order to help your body produce the milk that your baby needs in terms of supply, okay? And also keep in mind, you want to make sure you're eating healthy foods, because what you put in your body ultimately will determine the quality of your breast milk. So if you're not eating healthy, nutritious foods, that will affect your breast milk overall and the nutritional value of it. If you're constantly eating healthy foods, nutritional foods, nutrient-dense foods, then your baby will be consuming more better quality breast milk, basically. So keep that in mind as well, that you want to try to make sure that you're eating healthy foods whenever possible, okay? And let's see here. Tip number 5 is making sure you get enough rest, especially in the beginning, like the first couple of weeks after you have your baby. It's really important, because getting enough rest is going to give you the energy you need, the energy your body needs to produce the milk it needs, and it's also going to help you, keep up with baby's demands for breast milk in terms of constantly having to put baby on breast in the beginning, especially. So getting enough rest will help that journey, your breastfeeding journey, and it'll make sure that when baby's hungry, you're more likely to say, okay, give me baby. I'm gonna put baby to breast. If you're really exhausted, you're gonna you're not gonna want to put baby to breast because you're so tired, and you might just say, okay, hold baby. Someone else hold baby instead of putting baby to breast. Things like that. You're more likely to give the baby a pacifier, which is another thing. I didn't have that in my tips, but avoid a pacifier at least in the beginning, at least the first month or so, just because you don't want to avoid putting baby on breast to soothe baby with a pacifier instead of soothing baby with your breast, because then that might affect your supply, because maybe baby is hungry, and even if baby's not hungry, the more baby's on breast, the more milk you'll make, right? So if you want to make sure you avoid supply issues, then avoid a pacifier in the beginning at least, okay? So getting enough rest was tip number 5, and then tip number 6 is alter breast between feeds. So making sure that if you fed baby on the right side, that the next feed you do the left side, trying to keep up with that. I know sometimes it might be hard to do so. Sometimes you're just tired and you might forget, like, was it the right or left last time I fed? So sometimes you just try to be mindful of it, because you don't want to end up with one large breast and one really small breast, because your breasts are individuals in a way. So if you're constantly feeding baby from the right side, then that right side will supply more than the left side, and then you'll have an imbalance. And you will physically see that, okay? So that's a good tip to follow as well. And tip number 7 is, I did have the pacifier in here. I did. My bad. So what I mentioned about the pacifier, making sure you avoid that pacifier, like I just mentioned in the beginning at least, okay? So that way you avoid any possible supply issues down the road. And my tip number 8 is get help whenever possible, and don't be afraid to ask for help in the beginning, especially because you're going to be, quite of your time is going to be dedicated to just breastfeeding your baby, and you won't have all this time to do everything else, especially if you have other little ones running around. You're going to be tired, you're going to be constantly breastfeeding, so it's going to be really hard to get other things done in the beginning when baby is constantly on the breast. Eventually the baby won't be on the breast as much, your baby will go longer periods of time between feedings, which will be nice eventually, but in the beginning, especially the first month or so, it's this constant breastfeeding. Really, that's really what you're doing almost all the time. So whenever somebody offers help, if you have to ask for it. Don't be ashamed for it, because it is going to really make a huge difference in being able to breastfeed the baby, or increase your chances of successfully breastfeeding your baby. Because if you have a lot of stress on you trying to get everything done, it could just get so overwhelming that you might just end up feeling like it's just not doable for you. And studies have shown people who have support, whether it's your partner, whether it's family, friends, to help out in the beginning especially, are more likely to successfully breastfeed down the road. So if possible, please, please, please get help, and if not, ask for help, and don't be ashamed to do it. Okay. And then tip number 9 is keep your baby close by always, in the beginning especially. I co-sleep with my baby. I know that's a controversial topic. Some people are pro, and some people are against that situation, but I just felt it made sense for me. I tried in the beginning with my first child to put baby in the crib at night, things like that, and it just didn't make sense. It didn't work out for me. I just found that it just made sense to have my baby right next to me at night, and in the beginning, I put my baby in a little, a snuggle me kind of pillow where it had like a little barrier around the baby, just to help prevent any type of rolling over your baby when you're sleeping or something like that. So if you don't feel comfortable with co-sleeping with baby in the bed, then just make sure that if it's a bassinet or a crib, whatever, the baby's in the same space as you. Don't separate yourself from your baby. Don't put your baby in a nursery or anything like that, because it's just, it could get in the way of, getting to baby. You might, it becomes more complicated, and as a result, supply might be affected down the road, okay? Because it increases your chance of breastfeeding more often with your baby, and for longer periods of time as well, okay? So definitely try that out as a tip. And my last tip, number 10, is stay positive. So your mental thought processes, like that can affect your breast milk supply and your breastfeeding journey. So staying positive, and whenever you are breastfeeding your baby, think positively. Think, my body, is making enough milk for my baby. My body knows exactly what to do for my baby, because that ultimately can affect the overall breastfeeding journey experience, okay? And something I say to myself, like whenever I had doubts or was concerned about supply, I would literally just make my body believe that it was making tons of milk whenever I breastfed my baby. I would sit there and say, I'm a breastfeeding goddess. I'm overflowing with breast milk. Like, I would say these positive affirmations as I breastfed my baby. And there were times where honestly, I'm not joking. I would feel like a surge of breast milk come through at times when I was breastfeeding, when I had these positive affirmations I would tell myself. So I really do believe in, having a positive mental or attitude towards breastfeeding, and believing in yourself, believing in your body's ability to breastfeed your baby will make a huge difference in how your experience breastfeeding and your overall journey. So those are my top 10 tips. But I just also wanted to mention that, in the beginning, there will be hard, really difficult moments. You're likely to cry. I cried with my first two. I didn't cry with my third. In the first 2 weeks of birthing my baby. But my first two, there was definitely within the first 2 weeks at some point I cried. I had a moment where I would just break down because baby was constantly on. I was exhausted. And I think the difference with this baby is that I made sure to sleep whenever baby slept. In the first week or two, I slept with my baby at all times. I slept whenever my baby slept, as much as I possibly could. And I really believe that made a huge difference. So, sleep deprivation is brutal. And, you are going to experience some level of that in the beginning when you have a newborn baby. And that's okay. And it's okay if that gets the best of you at times. It's okay. Just have a good cry. Ask somebody just to take baby for, a little bit, maybe an hour or two, so you can just, regroup with yourself. Just get yourself together, maybe take a nap or something like that, because it is going to be necessary, and just know that it's okay. And if you ever have a moment where you feel like, oh my God, this is way just too crazy, it's too much for me, that's okay too, to have those thoughts. Just experience them, accept them. And if you feel like you really do need help, make sure you reach out to a lactation consultant, maybe call your hospital where you gave birth, because they sometimes also have lactation consultants that are there to help you even after you are discharged from the hospital. So definitely look into those resources if you need them, for sure. And I think that's it, you guys. So let me know if there's any questions or concerns about the breastfeeding tips, or if you would like me to create another kind of video where maybe I can talk about breastfeeding positioning. I was a postpartum nurse, so I used to help tons of moms breastfeeding, and I had to learn about different positioning and things like that. I could do a video like that if you guys are interested, and let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you are a person that is all about healthy living, you know, holistic living, trying to live naturally as possible, then I'm definitely your girl, and definitely subscribe to this channel, okay? I think that's it, you guys, and I will see you guys next time. All right.